So, we are back in Jerusalem, and since we got back to Jerusalem, this whole new concept is open to us. We went hiking the other day. I went out, and some days we go to the city and we just ask the city to show us whatever it wants to show us today, and we just kind of go out and whatever catches our eye, we just start walking. So we went out the other day. We were going to look for some springs around the city, some friends, and started walking in the spring. There was just so much construction. All of the old spring sites are covered now, or there's construction going on. We kind of wandered through the city, and we ended up in a place called Mea Shearim. Mea Shearim, I've never been there yet, but it's the ultra-Orthodox area of Jerusalem. So it's where all of the religious folk go, and I've heard lots of stories about it, but I've never been in there. It's quite a place to go into because everybody dresses the same there. They all dress with the black and the white, and I've heard stories of people getting stoned and different things happening to people in there if you're not covered right or if you're looking a little bit different, because these people are very similar, and so differences stand out, and they have a very certain way of experiencing the world that they want to experience, and they don't want other ways of the world coming into their areas. So anyway, so we were walking and we found ourselves, the strange bunch that we are, found ourselves in the middle of Mea Shearim, and we were looking for a park. And we found this beautiful little park in the middle of Mea Shearim. And as we were sitting there in this park, started to look around, and this whole hill that we were sitting on was actually one big temple. So you could see all the temples carved into the mountains and all of these holes into the mountains. And as we were sitting there, we started to realize that the name Mea Shearim in Hebrew, Mea means 100 and Shearim is gates. So the area is called 100 Gates, and here we are sitting on this mountain with all of these holes and entrances going into the mountainside. And it was really interesting because all of a sudden I was like, why would they call this place 100 Gates? Where do these gates go to? Why are there holes into the side of the mountain? Why is this all carved? Why does this whole mountain look like it's been buried? Like all of the front of the mountain where the temples have been carved out, it looks like it's been buried and trees have been planting out of it. And all of a sudden I realized that this whole mountaintop that we were on was one big temple site with probably hundreds, probably 100 doors. Mea Shearim, 100 gates, probably 100 doors in, and only certain ones were there that we could see now. Maybe we could see 10 or 20 of them, I saw. But each one of them was locked, and they had these big metal gates on them. And some of the entrances are quite big, some are smaller, but they were all locked with gates. And what was interesting was that they were all metal gates, and they were all locked. They were locked from the inside of these places. So a lot of them you couldn't reach the lock from the outside. It's like somebody was inside these caves and locked this all from the inside. So it could have been the workers, it could have been whatever, but it's strange that the locks were on the inside. And so we spent the day out at this park, and this whole concept came to me of these gates. And since then, for the last week, all I've been seeing are entrances everywhere, like all through the parks that we normally go into. I just have never really noticed them before, but there are entrances everywhere to the underground. And what I started noticing is all of these entrances now that I've started seeing them are all locked. They're all closed. You can't get into them. So yesterday we decided to go out to Bet Shemesh, which is about half an hour out of Jerusalem. It's in the hills where Samson, the stories of Samson, Samson with the long hair and Delilah. And the whole story about one's strength coming from the outside, and the story of Samson was that Delilah was tricked into cutting Samson's hair, and the army couldn't capture Samson because he was so strong, and they believed his strength came from his hair. So they had his girlfriend secretly at night cut his hair one night, and the army came in and took him, and they took him away, and they took his eyes out. And when they took his eyes out, it's almost like his vision of what he saw gave him power on the outside was turned inside. He couldn't see outside. And in this moment, he realized that his power came from inside. And as they were trying him in this temple, he pushed the pillars. He regained his strength back, and he pushed the pillars of this temple and made this temple collapse in on the people that had captured him. So we were up in these hills, and we heard there were lots of temple openings, gates there. So we went up there, and again, we found so many. We found the hill where it's a mountain, and we climbed around this mountain all day. We found dozens of gates and entrances into the mountain again, but they were all closed. They were all locked with gates again, and we just couldn't find a way in. And it's really frustrating. There's so many gates, but they're all locked. So today we found another gate, and it is not locked. So it's like the one that we found all week here now. We found literally dozens of gates, but they're all locked. So now we found one cave entrance, and it looks like it's not locked. So we're building up the courage today to go there now. I don't know, there's something about caves. It's really spooky. Like, I've never been in a cave. I shouldn't fear them. Yeah, I've got some fear inside of me. So I had a friend that went into a cave few years ago in Modine, and she got this thing. They didn't know what it was for quite a while. She was in the hospital and they couldn't figure out what it was, and they traced it back, and it was cave fever. It was called. It was some ancient disease from thousands of years ago that hadn't been recorded, and somehow she caught it in this cave. And she was quite crippled for a month, or I think she was in the hospital for 3 months or something, or in the bed for 3 months. I don't know. She was really sick. So today we got some masks to take that fear away. We got some glow sticks so that we can see, and we are going to go and see what we find inside some of these gates. And I'm guessing that inside there's a whole network underneath this whole country, maybe all over the world, I'm not sure, of these underground tunnels and stuff. So I'm hoping that if we can find one entrance in, that we can connect to the rest of these tunnel systems, because they're really all over this country, and the stories go back that people were traveling through these tunnel networks, and there's lots of stories. I've been hearing them all week now from people because I've been talking about this. So very, very interesting, and we're looking forward to it. So today is our day to build it up. We've got some masks to take away our fear, some light to take away our fear from the dark, and we are building up some courage to confront the thing that we are afraid of, going into caves, which we have no reason to be afraid of so far. So that is it. I'll update later depending on what happens. Over and out.